Today is February 2nd, 2025, and I find myself quite often revisiting my channel and looking at the lack of progress and lack of views, and then I ask myself, why do I continue to make videos? I think I do this for two reasons. The first reason is I greatly love sharing and teaching. I like to do all this research and share it with others. I've always enjoyed it, and I always will. And I'll continue to make videos as long as I find enjoyment in doing that. But then the other reason is because I think it's important for some of the things that I am bringing up, that if there are those out there in YouTube land that are also seeking that they have resources to reference and look back on. By listening to others' perspective and how they analyze stuff, you can kind of consider things and get new insights yourself. When I was seeking, I wanted to find channels like the channel I am attempting to keep alive. People who are looking into things, backing it up with resources that I myself can go out, look at, and make up my own mind on. Now, I do have a very small group of dedicated individuals who enjoy watching my content, regularly watch and comment. So for that reason alone, even if it is 10 people, I continue to make content. So here we are. What am I driving at when I keep making these videos? Why do I keep bringing up the same topics sometimes? Like why I keep making videos. I've made videos like this talking about why I'm continuing multiple times. You would think one would be enough. Well, aside from the fact that videos don't always get viewed, so by remaking them, I reintroduce the possibility of people watching it, but I also have new perspective, words, and thoughts on the exact same topics. Sometimes these will be topics of things that I'm researching where I find out additional information, and other times it's asking the same question of why go on. So, with that being said, my basic thought when it comes to generalized spirituality and history, cultural traditions, is that we have a tendency as a society and people to do things that are common without asking why. We have a tendency to repeat things that we hear once and assume that it's accurate. The more I look into stuff, the more I realize that in many cases we have no idea where things originally came from. And I try to pick apart and find the best I can. I've made videos talking about how I go about researching, and the more I think about it, I don't know if research is really a justifiable term to use for what I do. And I say this because, yes, I look at sources. I look at original sources from original folks from the ages that have printed books or have had them translated. But that's not all I do. Often I find myself doing internet searches, which anybody can do. So how do I know what I'm researching is accurate? That's why I try to call it out. This is where I got it from. This is where I saw it. Same thing can go for the sources that I'm reading from. Can I trust the translator? Is it somebody giving their own opinion? Or is it a YouTube video I'm watching? There's been quite a few individuals I have found that have doctorate degrees that I put trust in. Doesn't mean they're 100% right or accurate, but it gives me a starting point, a jumping off point. And I think that's what a lot of people are craving, especially those who are new. There's many types of people that look into this stuff. You know, there's people who are trying to actively practice, so they're looking for ways to practice and understand, but they don't know where to go to. Or they trust some sort of book that was published or things that are repeated in the online community, again, not knowing where it came from. So I'm hoping to give insight. When I bring up my opinion on stuff, I'm hoping that'll get folks thinking. At the end of the day, you have to make up your own mind about these sources and the materials. Whether I share where they come from or somebody else shares where they come from or we talk about it, there are certain things that are just accepted because enough people have continued to do it. Words change and evolve. I constantly go back to the etymology and the origin of some words based upon what I can find from online searching, which wasn't available to me back in the 90s and 2000s. Now that the internet's available, I want to do a deeper dive, but just because it's online doesn't mean it's always 100% accurate. So you have to consider your sources, but having those sources to at least look at and consider, saying, is this etymology correct for this word or not? And then we have to consider, too, that if people use it enough a certain way, when does it change its meaning? Take the word witch, for example, which has always been very popular in a lot of neo-pagan reconstruction movements. A lot of people like to use the term witch for themselves or for their path, witchcraft. And I have constantly argued, I don't think people know what witch and witchcraft is, and the way that it's used is very, 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 very generic, so why use it at all? This is a solid argument as far as I'm concerned, otherwise I wouldn't make it. But there are still people who use the term. So if enough people have used the term inappropriately in the last 100 years or so, because we can trace modern witchcraft practices, I would say, as I've mentioned in other videos, again, repeating information, I've mentioned that we have seen examples of what people call witchcraft today from the very, 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 very late 1800s, early 1900s. That's where a lot of the movements come from. So it's a modern concept, but the way that they're using the word, enough people have consistently used it for the past 100 years or so, that it's almost become something different. So at what point do we say, fine, it's something else, or do we go back to the original origin of the word, where it came from and how it was used? Where do we draw that line? And who gets to say that which definition is accurate or correct? I think the main reason I try to bring up the root word and the etymology behind the word witch as an example, and I do this with many words, is I think we need to ask where it came from, because the tendency to just repeat and not know drives me nuts personally. I've spent so much time reading things and believing that people that they say, this is the practice, or this is the way that you do it, or this is how you do it, and everyone keeps repeating it and not knowing where it came from, that we just accept it. And that drives me nuts. I've done it before myself. There's tons of stuff that I think I know that has no historical accuracy to it. And at the very, very least, I want to acknowledge that it's new. I don't want to say, well, this is how it's done because it's been done that way since the dawn of time. No, this is how it's done, and I know where it started. Tarot is another example. Tarot is a game. It is 100% a game, but people put a lot of metaphysical stock into it because people use the playing cards for divination purposes. And a lot of people consider the tarot to be sacred. But if you look up the origin of the word, the origin of the deck, and the original artwork that was done, it was 100% an actual playing card game. It wasn't designed from the ground up to be for divination. That doesn't mean people who read tarot cards are wrong. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have sacred value now. Things have changed and shifted, so I think we need to acknowledge it. But I like to know where it came from. I like to pay homage to the past and those who came before me. So that's my mission here. That's what I'm going to continue to do. So the approach that I've been trying to do lately with my videos is release them on a weekly basis and kind of give almost a lecture or a vlog, a rambling of my current thoughts on a particular topic or subject. So as always, if you enjoy these videos, interact, let me know you like them. If you have questions, I will happily give my perspective on answering them, and I'll let you know if I have sources, what they are, so you can check them out for yourself. And if it is hearsay, I'm doing my best to call that out as much as possible. As I've said many times, no one has all the answers, but perhaps together we can find a few. I think one of the problems I'm also facing, and this is more of just a rant, is I'm having difficulty finding the proper audience, because individuals who have a tendency to be part of one of the Abrahamic faiths have no interest, for the most part, in a lot of the things that I have to say. And those who are part of the neo-pagan reconstruction or revival in some cases aren't interested in what I have to say, because I have a tendency to bash some of the common practices that are just accepted without question in the neo-pagan movements. So I have a tendency to aggravate and frustrate most people that watch my channel. However, there is a small group out there, and maybe they're larger, they're just not seeing my videos, that are interested in historical research with some of this stuff, and at least origin and roots. Those are the individuals I think I'll appeal to the most, because a lot of the things that I'm saying can be adapted and applied to neo-pagan or even monotheistic movements. This stuff is accessible to everyone, to peoples that are interested in expanding their own personal path, or at least just having more knowledge of where the paths might have come from. So, without further ado, that is the end of this rambling and this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.